But we begin this half hour with Maine's Commissioner of Public Safety and his department's response now to an independent review of the manhunt after the Lewiston mass shooting.
Maine State Police had already done their own review of their response to the shooting and the search for Robert Card in what's called an after-action report back in early September. That report was then reviewed by the New England State Police Administrators Compact, which provides cross-border mutual aid, training, and intelligence between state police agencies. The review, like the original State Police after-action report and the Lewiston Commission's report before it pointed to the chaos on the night of the shooting, and the challenge for state police to establish a command structure, especially when so many local and county officers were self-dispatching to the area without letting anyone know.
The review panel suggested that state police consider establishing a behavioral threat assessment program that would have the ability to prevent something like Lewiston from happening again. State police say at the time of the shooting, it was already a partner in the Maine Threat Assessment Group, which was designed to identify, assess, and assist individuals like Robert Card who exhibit behaviors indicating they are on a pathway to violence. We asked Maine Public Safety Commissioner Michael Soschuk today about that program and whether the Saginaw County Sheriff's Office, which was first alerted to Card's devolving mental state and access to guns, was aware it existed.
I don't know exactly what date they were implemented. I know it is a tool that is multidisciplinary. So it has some of our federal partners. It has the Maine School Safety Center. It has the Department of Corrections. Certainly has representatives from DPS. So whether an independent sheriff knows that that exists or utilizes, I can't tell you that.
So you don't know whether the Saginaw County Sheriff's Office knew about it before?
I have no idea. Yeah, it's not something that, I don't concern myself with individual agencies. That's not the role that we have here at DPS. We're not a regulatory authority, or so if Saginaw used it or York County used it or an individual police department, I would not be able to tell you that.
The outside review panel also suggests that all law enforcement in Maine, local, county, and state undergo the same advanced level active shooter training, which Maine State Police say would be a good idea. Right now, every law enforcement officer in Maine gets what's considered basic active shooter training. Now, in the days after the shooting, the need for services to help the people impacted by it continued growing.
Filling that need became the work of the Maine Resiliency Center, which a year later is still helping so many people. News Center Maine's Chris Costa joins us now with a look at what the center does and the lives it's helped change. Chris.
Brian, Amanda, you really can't mention the phrase Lewiston Strong without talking about the Maine Resiliency Center. The MRC is essentially a community center with free therapy for anyone who feels impacted by the shootings. And people who lost loved ones say this resource has been a helpful part of their healing. You didn't have to be here that night to feel the shockwaves.
There were a lot of kids who were here that night, but there are a lot of kids who weren't here that night who were impacted a lot.
Amy Bushway's son, Owen, is one of those kids, a teenager who needed someone to talk to.
For me and my family, that's been so valuable to have him be with other kids who understand how he's feeling and making connections and, talking about it. Because I think that's really hard.
For their first time, they were coming in.
A conversation made easier by the Maine Resiliency Center. Danielle Parent is the center's director. Even she had to learn how to be vulnerable around others.
I've realized that me being vulnerable and being able to be authentic and genuine is the very root of connection, and that connection is what builds resiliency, and so it's a necessity for me.
The center offers appointments and walk-in hours too, whether you were there or not, whether you lost a loved one or not. It's for anyone who feels impacted by the shootings.
I think that if somebody's vacillating, trying to figure out, am I impacted enough? The answer is yes, always. And there's a lot of power in serving others that can come through just showing up.
Support groups.
The center opened just 3 weeks after the shooting. The city of Lewiston and the Maine Attorney General's office are footing the bill until federal grants reimburse them. The only other resiliency center to open faster after a mass shooting was in Orlando, Florida, site of the Pulse nightclub shooting, and they had the financial backing of Disney.
This community really rallied to be able to stand the center up pretty much overnight. And I was very surprised. I didn't know what to expect. I didn't know if we'd have anybody show up.
But they did. The first day, 8 people came.
And that was immensely powerful. I mean, even the first conversation we had opening these doors was folks really processing and reliving that event and seeking support and just normalizing their experience and knowing that they weren't alone.
3 days later, 60 people showed up. Word was spreading.
I was surprised how vulnerable and how honest and authentic and genuine people would be early on.
In the last 365 days, the center has served hundreds of people, not only here on Main Street in Lewiston, but out in the community, cities and towns whose people are raised to be tough.
I mean, we're kind of a pull your bootstraps up community. We're not a really like touchy-feely community. So I think it's helpful that we don't lead with like this isn't the healing center, it's not the touchy-feely butterfly place. So I think it makes it a little more accessible because people feel like I'm coming here for a community night. I'm not coming here to
talk about my feelings.
Talk about my feelings, even though that's what will happen. But it doesn't. It makes it more approachable.
Conversations that came up just by being in the same space, even without a prompt. The goal of the MRC is to remove as many barriers as possible for people to get help.
There's a lack of this type of service in our community, right? Where there are a lot of services, there is that kind of barrier of having to have an assessment and having to qualify to need support. And we can support somebody who is struggling with this trauma, who might not reach a PTSD diagnosis, and there isn't a real space for that.
Which is why this place fills a gap, strengthening the communities, the people left with holes in their hearts.
That's pretty special.
People like Cassandra Violet.
That's how every card was signed, letter was signed for years. All our love, all our lives, Bob and Lucy.
I had to go through some stuff, and I don't know what I would have done if Joanna wasn't there with me. Like, I don't think I would have made it through, honestly.
It's the right people that are running
exactly.
it.
So the center offers walk-in hours on Tuesdays, Wednesdays, and Thursdays from 3 p.m. to 6 p.m. And appointments are also available. And Brian and Amanda, staff recognize everybody grieves differently. So if you feel like you need to talk to somebody, they say there's no wrong time to start that conversation. They want to be there for you, whether it's in that building or out in the community. They do a lot of events you can find on their website.
Yeah, it's such an important place, and it's good to remind people that it exists.
Yeah, absolutely.
Thank you, Chris.